Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a roll and write game called Sunflower Valley. In this game, every player is going to have a dry erase board in front of them that begins largely blank, and then a pool of dice is rolled. From those, we will draft specific faces on those dice and write them in, sort of color them into our boards with dry erase markers, and we are trying to get the best scoring opportunities possible, of course. It's a fairly straightforward concept, and there are certainly a lot of roll and write style games out there with this same core concept at its heart. So is this one any different? Does it stand out in such a crowded play space? Let's take a closer look and find out. We'll come on back after that. I'll give you some final thoughts. Here we're going to be taking a look at the game a few turns in already. Every player is going to have one of these sheets here. They have a letter in the top corner, and there's a whole set of these. So everybody would have the letter A, for example, in this game. But if you choose two, you can all have, for example, the C layout of the board, which is going to be different. Or you could go back here to the letter E. These are also all double-sided with another letter on the back. And as you can see, there's quite a few of them. So we've already done setup. As I said, we've done a few rounds, and we're going to begin a new round now so I can show you how this all works together. So whoever is the leader for the round is going to have the start player marker here. We're going to roll all of the dice, and we are going to place them up here. These dice are going to show a few different things. You're going to get some of the railroads, either straights or curves. You are going to have some of the sunflowers here. There's two kinds, the ones that are simply a sunflower, and some that show you right next to it a little person, so you'll be marking those off. And then you've also got the houses over here. So this is the selection, and then the start player is going to pick one of the dice and one of the colors, and they will draw that into their own board in the corresponding color, okay? So this is what I've got so far. I've got a couple of houses connected by some railroad there, sheep right there, and some sunflowers, and some railroad not connected to anything right now. So what I want to do is place a house connecting all this railroad over here. So I'm going to choose this one, put it in orange, and then I will draw a house there. So I'm going to put one right here. And then I'm going to, because that die gives me two little characters over here, I'm going to go ahead and check two of those boxes off. And that's it for my turn. Then the next player will go, and they'll select one of these. They'll pick a color. And then the third player would go. They'll select one of these. They'll pick a color. It comes back to me, okay? Let's say there are three players. And so it comes back to me. I have to choose one of these dice and one of the colors. And I might pick, for example, this one here. Put it in yellow. And then draw in a sunflower right there. And this is all going to continue until everyone's boards are full. If I had picked one of these sunflowers that had the character, by the way, I would have also checked another one of these off over here, but that one did not have one. So once the next player, by the way, takes one of these, then we move the start player marker, we re-roll all of these, and we continue doing it. Not everybody gets the same number of turns per round, but everyone does have the same number of turns in the game. And the game's over when someone's board, or everyone's board, is completely filled, okay? And then we score. So the scoring is here across the bottom of your own board. Let me explain that now so that you know why I'm picking some things and not others, and where I'm choosing to put them. So the first one here is you're going to get 3 victory points for every house that has a sheep attached to it. That comes in one of two ways. This house here has that sheep next to it, so that one counts, but I could also, if I had a sheep right over here, this is going to be my upside down drawn sheep there. If I had that one there, I could, because it's next to this house, and this house is attached to this one through the railroad, I could have that sheep score for this house here. So that's okay as well. So right now, if this was what it looked like, I would have 3 points for this one and 3 points for that one, giving me 6 victory points there. So I've got 2 of those. Over here, I'm going to lose victory points for every house that does not have sheep attached to it, and I cannot deliver them over the railroads to it. And so that's one of them, this one right here. I would lose 5 points for that. This one over here is going to be 3 victory points per colored area to whoever has the most sunflowers in that area. So it would go, area by area. So for example, in orange, I've got 2. Let's say nobody else has at least 2. I'm going to get 3 victory points for that. Over here in the yellow, I've got 2, but somebody else has 4 of them. So they'll get the 3 victory points for that, and so on. Over here, we've got the mountains. Now, the mountains are going to score based on the number of sunflowers around that mountain. And I'm going to take a look at each one of these and write a number in. So, for example, 2 victory points there for there being 2 sunflowers, 2 victory points here, 1 victory point there, and so on. Of course, I wouldn't be doing this now. The board would be complete. Over here, we're going to take a look at the population. And whoever has the most is going to get 5 victory points. Second most is going to be 3. So let's say I have the second most, okay? So I would do that, a 3 there. And let's say for this, I ended up with majorities in 2 areas, so 6. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 5, let's say. Right there for the mountain scoring. And then lastly over here, I'm going to get victory points for how many connected houses I've got. So the networks of houses. And that uses this right here, houses connected by train. So if I've only got 2 connected ones, just these 2, and I wasn't able to connect any more, I'm going to get 4 victory points for that. But if I'm able to connect, let's say I had another house here, and then I was also able to connect that to that, like so, then I'm going to score 1, 2, 3, 4 of them is going to give me 15 points. So I would give myself 15 points there. I would add all this up, subtracting the negative points, of course, figure out what my total is, and then whoever has the highest total is going to be the winner in the game. And that is how you play Sunflower Valley. All right, so there it is. Let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit more, okay? I'll start with the things I thought were just so-so. So the first one, theme. The theme here is just okay. It isn't captivating for me. I didn't find it particularly helpful to teach the game. I'm not sure why the sheep help you score houses. I'm not certain why you need those 2 things to go together. And it just feels largely sort of a by-the-numbers theme. Nothing particularly inspired about it. And then the other thing that I thought was just okay was the ease of play. Generally, it is an easy game to play, except for I find the sheep rules, again, a little bit fiddly. This idea of you need 1 sheep next to a house to score that house. That's fine. I can buy into that. But then if you've got a group of sheep over here next to a different house, if you can put them on the railroad and move them to this other house, that's okay too. And they spend a solid amount of sort of examples in the rule book, which is a short rule book anyway, explaining the possible permutations of this. You've got this group of sheep. This one over here isn't even next to the house, but it's next to other sheep that are next to the house. That one can be loaded onto the tracks and moved over here. It's for a game that's so basic overall, that's the one part that's a little bit of a sticking point for me. It's the one sort of rules hitch that every time I hit it, I have to go, okay, well, let me give you some examples here. For everything else, you don't really need examples. It's pretty straightforward. But for that one, I always feel like I do. Everything else I do like in the game. The aesthetics, I think the components are great. The dry erase boards are a great idea. You're not burning through paper while you're playing. And they give you all of the different permutations of those. I like the dice. The dry erase markers included in the box are excellent. So that's all good. Replayability, great. As I said, lots of different layouts. The game per se isn't going to change from session to session, but having a different layout, and at the beginning of the game you do this sort of setup roll in which you put a starting house in one of the locations so everyone cannot mimic one another. I like that too. You begin from a slightly different starting position, so that's very nice for replayability. The game length is very well tuned. I think it has it gives you a great amount of time in which to build tension. The game resolves when you're ready for it to resolve. I find the ramping up effect is interesting, and so I like the game length here quite a bit. It's a well done game that isn't too short, but doesn't outstay its welcome either. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck. That's fun as well. I like that it's a drafting game. I like that you're rolling dice, but then drafting both a die face and a color that you are denying from the players after you. I find that interesting. If you are playing with fewer people, you are doing more, or at least it seems like you're doing more. You're really not. But that pace kind of picks up, and that's interesting too. You're always engaged in this game because most people's turns are going to be very quick and short. And there's a lot of reacting to what's going on. It feels largely a little bit like a game of chicken, you know? This idea of, I really want to put a house in this spot, but I am going to, you know, when my turn comes around, that color is gone, or there are no dice of that face, and so I'm going to do something else and keep waiting, and keep waiting, and keep waiting, and at some point, I'm sure I'm going to get that blue house that I need for this spot. And so the tension keeps building every time you don't get it. Every time a turn goes by, a round goes by, and you didn't get that thing you were waiting for. You keep building around it to finally get that thing. That's fun. I like that anticipation that the game builds for specific situations that you yourself created. And so overall, I do enjoy Sunflower Valley. Does it do anything that other roll and write games haven't done? No, not really. But it does the things that many of them do in a very aesthetically pleasing and smart way. Again, the dry erase boards, that's a good move. It works well, especially in this game. They're nice and large boards as well. And it's a little bit of a better theme than just colors and numbers. I still don't find the theme very exciting, but it's better than a lot of those kinds of games. So Sunflower Valley here is going to get a seal of approval from me. I do recommend it if you're a fan of the genre, or if you're looking for one to begin with, and you don't think your players are going to be excited by an abstracted, you know, game, just numbers and colors, or, you know, just dice with pips. I think this is going to be a good pick for that. So there you go, Sunflower Valley, again, seal of approval from me. Thanks everybody for checking this out with me. I'm Z Garcia, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.